Sarah Martinez sat in the cold hospital chair next to her daughter's bed and watched the machines that kept beeping all around them. The sound never stopped and it made her head hurt, but she could not leave. Her 8-year-old daughter Lyly was sleeping, but her breathing looked hard and Sarah could see her little chest going up and down like she was fighting for each breath. The doctor had just left the room after telling Sarah things she did not want to hear. Dr. Roberts was a nice man, but today his face looked very serious when he spoke to her. He used big words that Sarah did not understand at first, but then he made it simple. Lyly was getting worse, and the medicine they had been giving her for 6 months was not working anymore. Her body was fighting against the sickness that was in her blood, and it was winning. Sarah remembered when this all started. Lyly had been playing in their small backyard when she suddenly fell down and could not get up. At first Sarah thought her daughter was just tired from running around, but then she saw how pale Lyly looked. Her skin was almost white, and she said she felt dizzy. Sarah picked her up and drove fast to the hospital, where they did many tests and found out that Lyly had something wrong with her blood that made her very sick. Since that day 6 months ago, Sarah had been living at the hospital more than at home. She had to quit her second job at the diner because she needed to be with Lyly every day. Now she only worked cleaning offices at night when Lyly was sleeping and a nurse could watch her. The money was not enough, but Sarah did not know what else to do. Her sister Maria helped when she could, but Maria had 3 kids of her own, and not much money either. Dr. Roberts had explained that there was a treatment that could help Lyly, but it was very expensive and not available in their city. The treatment was in a place called Switzerland, which was very far away across the ocean. Sarah had never been on a plane before and did not even have a passport. But the worst part was the cost. The doctor said it would cost more than $2 million, and that did not include flying there or staying in that country. While Lyly got better, $2 million was more money than Sarah could imagine. She made about $20,000 a year working her cleaning job, and before that, when she had 2 jobs, she made maybe $30,000. Even if she worked for the rest of her life and never spent any money on food or rent, she could never save that much. The number was so big it did not seem real. Sarah looked at her phone and saw it was almost midnight. She wanted to call her sister Maria to talk about what the doctor had said, but she knew Maria would be sleeping. Maria worked early in the morning at a factory and needed her rest. But Sarah felt so alone and scared that she thought maybe just this once she could wake her sister up. Maria would understand because she loved Lyly too. The hospital room was quiet except for the beeping machines and the sound of Lyly breathing. Sarah could hear other sounds from the hallway where nurses walked around taking care of other sick people. Sometimes she heard crying from other rooms, and it made her sad to think about other families going through hard times like hers. Sarah picked up her phone and tried to find Maria's number in her contacts. Her hands were shaking because she had been crying and she felt very tired. She had not slept much in the past few days since Dr. Roberts first started talking about the treatment in Switzerland. Every time she closed her eyes, she thought about losing Lyly, and it made her heart feel like it was breaking. When she found Maria's number, she pressed call, but her finger was shaking so much that she was not sure if she pressed the right buttons. The phone started ringing, and Sarah waited for Maria to answer. She practiced in her head what she would say. She would tell Maria about the treatment and the money, and maybe together they could think of something to do. After 3 rings, someone answered the phone, but the voice did not sound like Maria. It was a man's voice, and it sounded deep and kind of tired, like he had been working late. Sarah thought maybe she had called the wrong number, but she was so upset that words just came out of her mouth before she could stop them. "Help, my Lyly is dying and I don't know what to do," she said into the phone, and then she started crying harder than before. She expected the man to hang up or tell her she had the wrong number, but instead he did something that surprised her. His voice became very gentle and he said, "Wait, please don't hang up. Tell me what's happening." Sarah was so shocked that someone she did not know wanted to listen to her that she almost dropped the phone. She looked around the hospital room and then at Lyly, who was still sleeping, and she thought maybe this was crazy, but she really needed someone to talk to right now. "I'm sorry, I think I called the wrong number," she said, but the man on the phone said, "That's okay. You sound very upset. Is Lyly your daughter?" Sarah did not know why, but something about his voice made her feel like it was safe to talk to him. He sounded like he really cared even though he did not know her at all. So she started to tell him about Lyly and the sickness, and what the doctor had said about the treatment in Switzerland. The man listened without saying anything while Sarah talked. She told him about how Lyly used to love to dance and sing and play with her dolls, but now she was too weak to do those things. She told him about quitting her job and having no money and feeling like she was failing as a mother because she could not save her daughter. When Sarah finished talking, the man was quiet for a moment, and then he said, "That sounds very hard. How old is Lyly?" "She's 8, Sarah said. She just turned 8 last month, and we had a small party here in the hospital room. The nurses brought her a cake, and she smiled, but I could see she was very tired." The man asked more questions about Lyly's sickness and about the treatment in Switzerland. He seemed to know something about medical things because he asked about the name of Lyly's condition and what the doctors had tried so far. Sarah answered his questions as best she could, even though she did not understand all the medical words. As they talked, Sarah started to feel a little bit better. It felt good to have someone listen to her without judging her or telling her what she should do. The man's voice was calm, and it made her feel less alone in the scary hospital room. After they had been talking for almost an hour, the man said, "Sarah, I want you to try to get some rest tonight. Tomorrow is going to be another hard day, but you need to take care of yourself too so you can take care of Lyly." Sarah realized she had told him her name, but she did not know his name, and she had been too upset to ask. But before she could ask him who he was, he said, "I'm going to hang up now. But I want you to know that you're a good mother and you're doing everything you can for Lyly. Don't give up hope." Then the phone went quiet and Sarah was alone again in the hospital room with just the sound of the machines beeping and Lyly breathing. Marcus Chen sat in his big office on the top floor of a tall building in the city and looked out at all the lights below him. It was very late at night and most people were sleeping, but Marcus was still working because he had many important meetings. Tomorrow, his company made computer programs that helped millions of people around the world, and he was always busy making sure everything worked the way it should. Marcus was 42 years old and had more money than most people could imagine. But tonight he felt tired and a little sad. He had been thinking about his sister May, who had died when she was only 10 years old. That was 30 years ago, but Marcus still remembered everything about that terrible time when his family could not afford to pay for the medicine that could have saved her. Back then, Marcus and his family lived in a small apartment, and his parents worked very hard, but they did not make much money. When May got sick, the doctors said there was a treatment that could help her, but it cost too much money for his family to pay. Marcus was only 12 years old then, but he promised himself that when he grew up, he would never let money stop him from helping people who were sick. Now Marcus had enough money to buy anything he wanted. But he lived alone in a big house and sometimes felt lonely. He gave lots of money to hospitals and schools, but he always did it through his assistants and lawyers so people would not know it was him. He did not like people to make a big deal about his money because he remembered what it felt like to be poor and scared. When his phone rang that night, Marcus almost did not answer it because he thought it was probably someone from work calling about business. But something made him pick up the phone, and when he heard a woman crying and saying that her daughter was dying, he felt like someone had hit him in the chest. The woman's voice reminded him of his own mother crying 30 years ago when the doctors told her family that May was going to die. Marcus remembered hiding behind the door and listening to his mother sob while his father tried to comfort her. That sound had stayed with him his whole life, and now he was hearing it again from a stranger who had called the wrong number. When Sarah started telling him about Lyly and the sickness and the expensive treatment in Switzerland, Marcus felt his heart beating fast. The story was so similar to what had happened to his family that it felt like the universe was giving him a chance to do something he could not do. When he was 12 years old, Marcus listened carefully while Sarah talked, and he used his computer to look up information about the condition that Lyly had. He found medical websites that explained the sickness and the treatment that was available in Switzerland. The more he read, the more he understood that Lyly really could get better if she got the right care soon enough. While Sarah was still talking, Marcus sent a text message to his assistant Jennifer, who worked for him even late at night when important things needed to be done. He asked her to find out everything she could about the treatment center in Switzerland and how much it would cost to send a little girl. Therefore, the special medicine. Marcus had learned to be very careful about money, even though he had so much of it. When he was young and poor, he had seen people try to trick his family with fake treatments and promises that cost money but did not help May get better. So now, when he heard about medical treatments, he always checked to make sure they were real and that they actually worked. Jennifer was very good at finding information. Quickly, and within 20 minutes, she sent Marcus reports about the Swiss Medical Center. The place was real and very famous for helping children with blood diseases like the one Lyly had. The treatment was expensive, but it worked for most children who got it in time. Jennifer also found out that the doctors in Switzerland were some of the best in the world for this kind of sickness. When Sarah finished telling her story, Marcus felt like he wanted to help her right away, but he also knew he needed to be smart about it. He had helped many people over the years, and he had learned that sometimes people got scared or proud when they found out he was very rich. He did not want Sarah to feel uncomfortable or like she owed him something. Marcus asked Sarah more questions about Lily's condition and about what the doctors had told her. He wanted to make sure he understood everything correctly before he decided what to do. Sarah answered all his questions, and Marcus could tell from her voice that she was a good mother, who really loved her daughter and would do anything to save her. As they talked, Marcus felt more and more sure that he wanted to help Lyly get the treatment she needed. He had enough money to pay for everything without it changing his life at all, but for Sarah and Lyly it would mean the difference between life and death. Marcus thought about May and how different things might have been if someone with money had been able to help his family. After they had been talking for a long time, Marcus could hear that Sarah was getting very tired. He told her to try to rest and that she was doing a good job taking care of Lyly. He did not tell her who he was or that he had money because he wanted to think about the best way to help without making things complicated. When Marcus hung up the phone, he sat in his office and looked out at the city lights again. He thought about all the times he had wished someone could have helped his sister May, and now he had a chance to be that someone for another little girl. It felt like the most important thing he had ever done, even though Sarah did not know who he was. Marcus called Jennifer and told her to find out which hospital Lyly was in, and to get the phone number for the doctors who were taking care of her. He also asked her to call the treatment center in Switzerland and find out exactly what needed to be done to get Lyly there as soon as possible. Jennifer had worked for Marcus for many years, and she knew that when he decided to help someone, he wanted everything done perfectly and quickly. She also knew that Marcus liked to help people without them knowing who he was, so she was careful about how she gathered the information. By morning, Jennifer had everything Marcus needed. She had talked to the Swiss doctors and found out that they could take Lyly as a patient if someone could pay for the treatment. She had also learned that Lyly would need to travel to Switzerland within the next few weeks, because her condition was getting worse and the treatment worked best when it was started soon. Marcus made his decision. He was going to pay for everything Lyly needed to get better, but he was going to do it in a way that would not make Sarah feel bad or worried about paying him back. He wanted Sarah to focus on taking care of Lyly and not worry about money or about who was helping them. Marcus had learned that the best way to help people was to do it quietly and let them keep their dignity. He remembered how proud his parents had been even when they were poor, and he did not want to make Sarah feel like she was taking charity from someone she did not know. Sarah woke up in the hospital chair where she had fallen asleep after talking to the stranger on the phone. Her neck hurt from sleeping in a bad position, but she felt a little better than she had the night before. Talking to that kind man had helped her feel less alone, even though she still did not know who he was or why he had listened to her story for so long. Lyly was awake and looking at her with big brown eyes that seemed too tired for an 8-year-old girl. Sarah smiled at her daughter and brushed the hair away from her face. Lily's hair used to be thick and shiny, but now it was thin because of all the medicine she had been taking. "Good morning, baby," Sarah said softly. "How are you feeling today?" Lyly tried to smile, but Sarah could see it was hard for her. "I'm okay, Mama," she whispered. "My chest feels heavy, but it doesn't hurt too much." Sarah's heart broke a little more every time Lyly tried to be brave. Her daughter was so young, but she had learned to live with pain and sickness like it was normal. Sarah wished she could take all of Lily's suffering and put it on herself instead. Nurse came into the room with breakfast for Lyly. The nurse was named Janet, and she had been taking care of Lyly for weeks. Janet was always nice, and she made Lyly laugh sometimes, even when she felt bad. "Look what we have today," Janet said in a cheerful voice. "Pancakes and orange juice, your favorite." Lyly sat up slowly, and Janet helped her get comfortable. Sarah could see that even small movements made Lyly tired, but she was trying hard to eat because she knew it would make Sarah happy. While Lyly was eating, Janet told Sarah that Dr. Roberts wanted to see her in his office after breakfast. Sarah felt worried because usually when doctors wanted to talk to her alone, it meant bad news. She wondered if Lyly was getting sicker or if there was something else wrong that she did not know about. After Lyly finished eating as much as she could, Sarah walked down the long hospital hallway to Dr. Roberts' office. The hospital always smelled like cleaning supplies and medicine, and it made Sarah feel sad. She had spent so much time here that it felt like a second home, but not in a good way. Dr. Roberts was sitting behind his desk looking at papers when Sarah knocked on his door. He looked up and smiled, which surprised Sarah, because yesterday his face had been so serious when he told her about the expensive treatment in Switzerland. "Please sit down, Sarah," Dr. Roberts said. "I have some very unusual news to share with you." Sarah sat in the chair across from his desk and felt her heart beating fast. She was scared that he was going to tell her something terrible about Lily's condition. "This morning I received a phone call from a law firm in the city," Dr. Roberts said. "They told me that an anonymous donor has contacted them about paying for Lily's treatment in Switzerland." Sarah stared at him and felt like she could not breathe. She did not understand what he was saying because it seemed impossible. "What do you mean?" she asked. Dr. Roberts smiled bigger and said, "Someone who does not want to give their name has offered to pay for everything Lyly needs. The treatment in Switzerland, the flights to get there, a place for you to stay while she gets better. Everything." Sarah felt dizzy and had to hold on to the arms of the chair. But who would do that? "I don't know anyone with that kind of money." "The lawyers would not tell me who the donor is," Dr. Roberts said. "They just said that this person heard about Lily's case and wants to help. They have already sent money to the Swiss Medical Center, and they are ready to accept Lyly as a patient." Sarah started crying, but this time they were happy tears mixed with confused tears. She could not believe that someone she did not know would give so much money to save her daughter. "Are you sure this is real?" she asked. "People don't just give away millions of dollars to strangers." Dr. Roberts nodded and showed her official papers from the law firm and from the medical center in Switzerland. Everything looked real and legal. The Swiss doctors were expecting Lyly to arrive within 1 week, and they had already started preparing for her treatment. "There is one condition," Dr. Roberts said. "The donor wants to remain completely anonymous. They do not want you to try to find out who they are or to contact them. They just want Lyly to get better." Sarah thought immediately about the kind stranger she had talked to on the phone the night before. The timing seemed too strange to be a coincidence, but she could not understand how someone she had never met could have this much money or why they would want to help her. When Sarah got back to Lily's room, she found her daughter sleeping again. Sarah sat down in her chair and stared at the papers Dr. Roberts had given her. The plane tickets were already bought for 3 days from now. They would fly from their city to a big airport and then take another plane to Switzerland. Sarah had never been on a plane before, and she felt scared and excited at the same time. Sarah called her sister, Maria, to tell her the incredible news. Maria screamed so loud on the phone that Sarah had to hold it away from her ear. "This is a miracle," Maria said. "Who do you think did this?" Sarah told Maria about the phone call the night before and how she had accidentally called a stranger who listened to her story. Maria thought that was very strange, but she was so happy about Lyly getting help that she did not ask too many questions. The next few days went by very fast. Sarah had to get a passport for herself and update Lyly's passport, which had expired. The social worker at the hospital helped her with all the paperwork and told her what to pack for the trip. Sarah tried calling the number from that night too. Thanked the stranger who had listened to her, but the call went straight to a recording that said the number was not available. She wondered if she would ever find out who had been so kind to her during the worst night of her life. Dr. Roberts gave Lyly medicine to help her feel strong enough for the long airplane trip. He also gave Sarah a big folder with all of Lyly's medical records to give to the doctors in Switzerland. He told Sarah that the Swiss Medical Center was one of the best in the world and that Lyly would get excellent care there. 2 days before they were supposed to leave, Sarah got another call from the law firm. They told her that the anonymous donor had also arranged for someone to meet them at the airport in Switzerland and take them to the medical center. They had also paid for an apartment near the hospital where Sarah could stay while Lyly was getting treatment. Sarah felt overwhelmed by how much this stranger was doing for them. She had never experienced such kindness from someone who did not even know her. She promised herself that someday when Lyly was better, she would find a way to help other families who were going through what she had been through the night before they left. Sarah sat next to Lyly's bed and watched her daughter sleep. Tomorrow, they would start a journey that could save Lyly's life. Sarah still could not believe it was really happening, but she felt more hopeful than she had in months. The airplane was bigger than Sarah had imagined, and she held Lyly's hand tightly as they walked down the long aisle to find their seats. Lyly was wearing a mask to protect her from germs, and she looked very small in the big airplane seat. Sarah had been worried that flying would be too hard for Lyly, but the doctors had given her special medicine to help her feel better during the trip. A nice flight attendant named Emma came to check on them after they sat down. She brought Lyly a soft blanket and a stuffed animal that looked like a little bear. Emma told Sarah that the airline had been told about Lyly's condition and that they would take extra good care of them during the flight. Sarah wondered again. Who could have arranged all these special things for them? Someone had thought of everything to make their trip as easy as possible. Even their seats were in the front of the plane where there was more room and it was quieter. The flight to Switzerland took almost 12 hours with one stop in another country. Lyly slept for most of the trip, which made Sarah happy because it meant she was not feeling sick. Sarah looked out the window at the clouds and mountains below and thought about how far they were from home. She had never imagined that she would travel to another country, but here she was flying across the ocean to save her daughter's life. When they arrived in Switzerland, a man was waiting for them at the airport holding a sign with their names on it. He spoke English, but with an accent that Sarah had never heard before. His name was Thomas, and he told them he worked for the medical center where Lyly would be treated. Thomas helped them get their luggage and led them to a very nice car that was waiting outside the airport. Sarah had expected to take a taxi or a bus, but this car was much bigger and more comfortable than any car she had ever been in. During the drive to the medical center, Thomas told them about Switzerland and pointed out mountains and lakes that were more beautiful than anything Sarah had seen in pictures. Lyly was awake now and looking out the window with wide eyes. Even though she was sick, Sarah could see that Lyly was excited to see new places. The medical center looked more like a fancy hotel than a hospital. It was surrounded by gardens with flowers and trees, and there were big windows everywhere that let in lots of light. Thomas took them inside to meet Dr. Weber, who would be taking care of Lyly. Dr. Weber was a woman with gray hair and kind eyes who spoke perfect English. She knelt down to talk to Lyly and asked her about the airplane trip and what she thought of Switzerland so far. Lyly smiled for the first time in days and told Dr. Weber about the stuffed bear the flight attendant had given her. Dr. Weber examined Lyly very gently and looked at all the medical records that Dr. Roberts had sent from home. She explained to Sarah that they would start Lyly's treatment the next day and that it would take about 6 weeks to complete. She said that most children with Lily's condition got much better with this treatment, but that it was important to start as soon as possible. Sarah felt scared and hopeful at the same time. 6 weeks seemed like a very long time to be so far from home, but she would do anything to help Lyly get better. After meeting with Dr. Weber, Thomas took them to see the apartment where they would be staying. Sarah had expected a small room, but instead they had a whole apartment with 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a living room with a big window that looked out at the mountains. The apartment was already stocked with food and everything they would need during their stay. There were even toys and books for Lyly and comfortable clothes in both their sizes. Sarah felt amazed by how much thought someone had put into making sure they would be comfortable. That first night, Sarah made dinner in the little kitchen while Lyly played with some of the new toys. It felt strange to be cooking in a foreign country, but also exciting. Lyly seemed happier than she had been in months, and Sarah hoped that was a good sign. The next morning, they went back to the medical center to start Lily's treatment. Dr. Weber explained everything they were going to do and why it would help Lyly get better. The treatment involved giving Lyly new medicine through a tube in her arm, and also some procedures that would help her body fight the sickness in her blood. Lyly was brave during the first day of treatment, even though some of the procedures were uncomfortable. The nurses were very kind, and they let Lyly choose stickers to put on her medical equipment. There was also a playroom where Lyly could go between treatments to play games and watch movies. Sarah met other parents at the medical center who had brought their children from all over the world for treatment. Some families were from countries she had never heard of, and they spoke languages she did not understand, but they all shared the same worry and hope for their sick children. One mother named Anna was from Germany, and her son Hans was 12 years old and had the same condition as Lyly. Anna told Sarah that Hans had been getting treatment for 3 weeks and was already feeling much better. This made Sarah feel more hopeful about Lily's chances of getting well. As the weeks went by, Lyly started to look healthier. Her skin was not as pale, and she had more energy to play and laugh. Dr. Weber was very pleased with how well Lyly was
responding to the treatment, and she told Sarah that Lyly was one of the best patients she had ever had. Sarah tried to stay positive, but sometimes at night when
Lyly was sleeping, she would think about the mysterious person who had made all of this possible. She wanted so badly to thank them and to let them know how much their kindness meant to her family. She had tried several more times to call the number from that night, but it never worked. During the 4th week of treatment, Sarah started a journal where she wrote down everything that was happening with Lily's recovery. She thought maybe someday she could share their story with other families who were going through similar situations. She wrote about the kind doctors and nurses, about the beautiful country of Switzerland, and about how grateful she felt every single day. Lyly made friends with some of the other children at the medical center, and they would play together in the playroom and the garden. Sarah loved seeing her daughter laugh and run around like a normal 8-year-old girl. It had been so long since Lyly had felt good enough to play that Sarah had almost forgotten what it looked like. Dr. Weber told Sarah that they would probably be able to go home in about 2 more weeks if Lyly continued to improve at the same rate. Sarah felt excited about going home, but also a little sad to leave the place where her daughter had gotten her life back. Every day Sarah looked out at the mountains and thought about the stranger who had listened to her cry that terrible night in the hospital. She promised herself that when they got home, she would find a way to help other families who were facing the same impossible situation she had faced. She did not have money like the anonymous donor, but she could share their story and maybe help other people find hope when everything seemed lost. 3 months after returning home from Switzerland, Sarah sat at her kitchen table looking at her laptop computer and typing the story of what had happened to Lyly. The little apartment felt so much happier now that Lyly was healthy and running around like a normal 8-year-old girl. The sound of Lyly playing in her room and singing songs made Sarah's heart feel full of joy. Dr. Roberts had been amazed when they came back for Lily's checkup. All the tests showed that the treatment in Switzerland had worked perfectly, and Lily's blood was completely healthy now. He told Sarah that Lyly would need to come back for tests every few months. but that she could live a normal life and do all the things that other children her age did. Sarah had started writing about their experience because she wanted other parents to know that miracles could happen even when things seemed hopeless. She wrote about the night she had called the wrong number and talked to the kind stranger who had listened to her story. She wrote about the mysterious anonymous donor who had paid for everything and made it possible for Lyly to get the treatment. That saved her life. Every day, Sarah got messages from people who had read her blog on the internet. Some were parents with sick children who wanted to know more about the treatment Lyly had received. Others were people who just wanted to say how happy they were that Lyly had gotten better. Sarah tried to answer all the messages because she remembered how alone she had felt during the worst days of Lyly's sickness. One day, Sarah got a phone call from a woman named Jennifer who said she worked for a company that helped sick children. Jennifer told Sarah that her boss had read the blog and wanted to invite Sarah to speak at a big event where people donated money to help families pay for medical treatments. Sarah had never spoken in front of a large group of people before, and she felt nervous about it. But Jennifer explained that sharing Lyly's story could help raise money for other families who were facing the same situation Sarah had been in. Sarah thought about all the parents she had met at the medical center in Switzerland and decided that she wanted to help if she could. The event was held in a big hotel ballroom in the city where Sarah had never been before. There were hundreds of people dressed in fancy clothes sitting at round tables with white tablecloths and flowers. Sarah felt out of place in her best dress, which was not as nice as what the other people were wearing, but Jennifer told her she looked perfect. When it was time for Sarah to speak, she walked up to the stage feeling very nervous. She looked out at all the people and thought about Lyly, who was at home with Maria, feeling healthy and happy. That gave Sarah the courage to tell their story. Sarah started by talking about the night Lyly almost died and how scared and helpless she had felt as a mother who could not save her child. She told the audience about calling the wrong number and finding a stranger who cared enough to listen to her when she needed someone most. She talked about the anonymous donor who had given them a miracle and asked for nothing in return. When Sarah finished speaking, the whole room was quiet for a moment, and then everyone started clapping very loudly. Many people in the audience were crying, and Sarah could see that her story had touched their hearts. She felt proud that she had been brave enough to share something so personal if it could help other families. After the event, several people came up to Sarah to talk to her. They told her how moved they were by her story and how glad they were that Lyly was healthy now. One man in a dark suit stood at the back of the group waiting to talk to her. When the other people had left, he walked over to where Sarah was standing. The man was tall with dark hair and kind eyes that looked familiar to Sarah, but she could not remember where she had seen him before. When he spoke, Sarah felt her heart start beating faster because she recognized his voice immediately. "I believe we spoke on the phone once," he said quietly, and Sarah's mouth opened in surprise. It was the voice that had comforted her during the worst night of her life. The voice that had listened to her story and made her feel less alone when she thought she was going to lose Lyly. Sarah stared at him and felt tears starting to come to her eyes. "You're the person I called that night," she whispered. "You're the one who listened to me." Marcus nodded and smiled gently. "My name is Marcus Chun," he said, "and I want you to know that talking to you that night changed my life too." Sarah felt confused and amazed at the same time. "But how did you know to come here tonight? And who paid for Lyly's treatment?" Marcus looked around to make sure no one else was listening, and then he said, "I paid for Lyly's treatment. I wanted to help because your story reminded me of my own sister who died when we were children because my family could not afford the medicine she needed." Sarah felt like the room was spinning around her. The kind stranger who had listened to her cry was also the anonymous donor who had saved Lyly's life. She did not know what to say because no words seemed big enough to express how grateful she felt. "I don't understand," Sarah said. "Why would you do so much for people you didn't even know?" Marcus told Sarah about his sister May and how helpless he had felt as a child watching her die. He explained that he had become successful in business and had more money than he could ever spend, but that he had never forgotten what it felt like to lose someone because of money. When you called that night and told me about Lyly, I felt like the universe was giving me a chance to do what I couldn't do for my sister, Marcus said. Helping Lyly was the most important thing I have ever done with my money. Sarah started crying again, but this time they were tears of joy and amazement. She told Marcus how Lyly was doing now and how happy and healthy she was. Marcus smiled and said that was all the thanks he needed. Then Marcus surprised Sarah even more by asking if she would like to work with his foundation to help other families who had sick children. He said that Sarah's experience and her ability to tell their story could help many people who were facing the same scary situation. Sarah said yes immediately because she had been hoping to find a way to help other families ever since they had returned from Switzerland. Working with Marcus's foundation would let her spend her time helping people instead of just worrying about paying bills. 6 months later, Sarah had helped dozens of families get treatment for their sick children. She and Marcus worked together to make sure that no parent would ever have to feel the helplessness that Sarah had felt that terrible night when she thought she was going to lose. Lyly was now 9 years old and completely healthy. She went to school and played with friends and never remembered being sick. Sometimes Sarah would watch her daughter running and laughing and think about the miracle that had brought Marcus into their lives. Sarah never forgot that everything good that had happened started with a wrong number call to a stranger who cared enough to listen.